Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone had a great week. I hope you had a great holiday last week. I missed you guys, and I am more than ready to be back with you this week. So we're going to get straight to today's show. The title is Checkmate, and the topic is your checklist for a completed book manuscript. All right, so we know that completing a book manuscript, it is exciting, yet it is challenging as well. It's one of those journeys that, you know, you feel the good, you feel the bad, you feel everything that's in between. Okay. So, you know, whether you are a seasoned writer or you're just crafting your first book, you know, having a clear roadmap, you know, that helps every aspect of your manuscript to make sure that it is polished and publication ready, because that's the goal, right? Okay. So that's where today's episode comes in. Checkmate. Okay. That's where it comes in, because your ultimate checklist to guide you toward the finish line. That's what today's episode is about. So now let's break it down step by step, shall we? So first of all, we want to refine the concept. Okay, so basically, you know, before diving into writing, you need to make sure that your concept is strong and engaging. Okay, so ask yourself, is my idea unique, or is it presented in a fresh way? Okay, and then the next one is, who is my target audience? Okay, who am I pitching this story to? And then the third thing is, what's the core message or the theme of my book? So what am I trying to get across to readers? So that's where your concept refinement comes in. Okay. So, you know, you need to spend some time brainstorming and then outlining, to create that solid foundation. But because we know that nothing that is not built on a solid foundation will stand. Okay. So we need a well-defined concept that will set the tone for your entire manuscript. All right. So now we want that high quality outline. And I know a lot of people are not really into outlining. I am one of those writers who I really don't do outlines. Okay. But we know that outlines is sort of like a flow chart. It's sort of like what programmers use before they write one string of code. They have a flow chart that they follow to make sure that everything is going to work. Okay, so think of your outline as a flow chart, because it is your blueprint, and it is effective when you use it. So, you know, whether you are writing fiction or nonfiction, you need to make sure that you have mapped out the structure of your book. And for fiction, you need to make sure that you're focusing on your plot points, okay? And also your character arcs, and also your settings. You can't really tell a story if you're not telling the reader where it is taking place. Okay, those are things that you really need to focus on, and you need to make sure that they are on your outline. And then for the nonfiction writers, you need to make sure that you have organized all of your chapters, and you've done that in a logical way. Okay, and you need to make sure that your headings are clear, and also your subheadings. All right, so your outline, it should have a smooth flow, and then that balance that distributes everything, especially the content, in the best way possible. You need to make sure that it's flowing and everything is balanced. All right. So the next thing is you need to make sure that your drafts are engaging. And yes, I said drafts because generally when you're writing, the first take is not the last take. Okay. You'll have many drafts in between. And that's so necessary when you're telling a story, because you're going to make changes along the way. So, these are your drafts. This is not the final story. And once that outline is ready, then you can start writing your drafts, and don't aim for perfection yet. I always say that nothing is 100% perfect, but get it as close to perfect as possible. Okay. Because this is your time to let that creativity flow. So don't stifle yourself by, worrying about editing, all of that process. That will come later. But right now you need to make sure that, that your drafts are lining up. And so one way to help you do that is to set some goals, but make sure that they are goals that are obtainable. Okay. Whether you want to do that on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And if you're one of those people who pay attention to your word count instead of chapters, then you may want to set a word count goal for yourself. If not on a daily basis, maybe weekly. Okay. And then you need to avoid all of that over editing during this stage. Don't do that. Okay. You need to keep that momentum going, because that is how your story flows. Don't stifle yourself by cutting off your flow, by worrying about, do I need to change this? Can I make this, use this word instead of that word? Just write the dadgum story. Okay. Keep your momentum going, and you can go back and tweak it as much as you want during this drafting period. Okay. What you need to do is focus on capturing the essence of your story or the message. Okay. All right. So the next one is your consistent voice and style. Okay. You need to make sure that consistency is there, because your manuscript, it should always have a consistent tone and style that will align with your audience expectations. And let me tell you, your readers expect much from you. Okay. So you need to make sure that you are giving them what they want. Okay. So for my fiction writers, you need to make sure that your narrative, your voice, is authentic, and it pulls the readers in. It engages them. Okay. It is completely immersive. You need to make sure. And then for nonfiction, and I always, go between the fiction and nonfiction, because I know not all writers are fiction writers, and not all non-fiction writers or fiction writers. Okay. So I try to keep it equal. But anyway, for the non-fiction writers, you need to make sure that you are maintaining that clarity and then that authority while you are staying relatable. Yes, you need to still be relatable, even if you're writing nonfiction. You need to read through each section. You need to read it aloud. And you can do that whether it is nonfiction or fiction. And I do that myself. I make sure that I read what I've written out loud. I don't do it the day of, but, generally the next day. Every time I write maybe, some chapters, I'll try to go back and read it. And then too, that helps me to pick the story up where I left off. Okay. And then two, it also allows you to check for any inconsistencies. That's the whole point of reading it aloud. All right. So the next thing is you need to have a keen eye for feedback. Okay. So, beta readers, and critique partners, they are your allies. Remember that. Okay. You need to share your manuscript with someone that you trust. Okay. Someone who will give you positive feedback, but also honest feedback. Okay. You need to make sure that you're getting that, because, all criticism is not bad criticism. It's constructive criticism is a wonderful thing, because it helps to strengthen you, not tear you down, but build you up. Okay. And you need to make sure that you are pitching it to someone that will meet the standards of your target audience. Okay. So you need to make sure that it's that the person that you're having to read your work and obtaining this feedback from is someone that that you would sell your book to. Once everything is completed, you need to make sure that they are in that target audience. Okay, and then you need to collect that constructive feedback or that constructive criticism, and then you can look for all of those common threads in those responses that you get back from the people that you let read your book. And then, actually, this step, it helps you to identify any blind spots that you might have. And again, like I said, constructive criticism doesn't tear you down, it builds you up, and that will strengthen your manuscript as well. All right, so manuscript polishing. So, now it's time to do all of that revision and that refinement that we talked about. So in doing this, you need to focus on tightening your prose, okay, by removing unnecessary words or phrases. I know how we get wordy, we're on this flow and everything sounds good, but sometimes you can have unnecessary words in there. Okay, you need to make sure that you're checking for that, because you need that continuity in your timelines, in your characters, and in your arguments, okay? Because that will enhance your descriptions or any explanations as needed, okay? So this is where your story will truly shine. And then we need to do those accuracy checks, okay? Those accuracy checks are very helpful because what they do is it's like offering all of that factual information to your plot details, and then two, you're double checking everything for that accuracy. So for nonfiction, you need to make sure that all of your data and your citations and your quotes are correct, because you do not want to be accused of plagiarism. Okay, you need to make sure that if you are borrowing information from other writers, you need to make sure that you cite that information so they can click on it and go find who said it first, okay? So for fiction, you need to make sure that you are confirming your details as well, like your timelines, your settings, and then all of your character traits. Make sure all of those things are lining up, okay? And then that will help the accuracy. That will help build the accuracy. And then also it will offer that credibility offer that credibility to your readers, because that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that that you're not building them up for them to say, oh man, that was a bunch of crap, I'll never read that author again. So you need to make sure that what you're doing is credible. All right. So that thorough editing. You need to make sure that you are crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And to make sure that you do that and you do it well is to get professional editing. Okay. Because there are so many different levels of editing to consider. And one is developmental editing. And what that does, it focuses on like everything, the big picture, all the elements like the structure and the flow. And then the line editing. I know a lot of writers, a lot of authors, they will opt for the line editing and the proofreading. We're going to get to that one in a second. But the line editing, it polishes all of the sentences, and then the construction, and then of course the readability. And then the proofreading, what it does is it catches all those typos, all of those grammatical errors, and formatting inconsistencies. Nothing worse than having formatting problems in your book. So you don't need to skip any of these steps, especially the editing part, okay? Because what it does is it separates the amateur manuscripts from all the professional ones. So just remember that, okay? So this is the end game, folks. We're at the end. So your manuscript is complete. What next? Well, you need to make sure that the formatting is right, according to the publishing standards, the font size, the spacing, and the margins, okay? And then you need to write that query letter. I know, but make sure that it is compelling, and a book proposal too, if you want to submit it to agents or publishers, right? So you need to make sure that you have done all your research. If you are one of those independent authors to want to do it that way, I always say, for me, that it works good because there's no middleman, so you get to keep the profits, right? Okay. So, if you're taking that route, you need to think about that. And, because this is your moment to shine. This is your moment to bring your manuscript to the world. So these are my final thoughts on it. You need to make sure that completing a book manuscript, it is nothing small, okay? And with CheckMate, you have a clear checklist to guide you every step of the way. So take your time, embrace that feedback, celebrate every milestone, because your hard work will pay off when your book is in the hands of all of those readers. So ready to get started? Checkmate your way to literary success. All right, folks, that is the show for today. I hope you have enjoyed it. And like I always say, tell those who you care about the most how you feel about them today, because tomorrow is not promised. And on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
loved what you